Hi there, I'm Mike Creavey for Homeschool Connections, and with me today is Homeschool Connections' new instructor. I'm excited to share her, Mrs. Tatiana Amorella. Tatiana, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having
Uh,
me.
it's always our pleasure to be able to spotlight our teachers, and as I mentioned, this is exciting at the outset here of your time with Homeschool Connections. So why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself and what led you to Homeschool Connections to begin with?
Sure, I'm really excited to be here. Um, I am a married mother of 7 children, and we live in Illinois. I have been doing theater, which is what I'm teaching, since I was about 5 years old, and went on to pursue it professionally. I have a degree in theater, and then have been working in the world of theater and film since I graduated college.
Wow, that's and I can't imagine. I mean, I know that just anecdotally, that there's can be a really roller coaster sort of path. I'm sure from
Yes,
what I've heard.
ups and downs, highs and lows,
Sure.
a lot of
Do you
work.
have any do you have any preference in terms of where you've worked with the stage versus screen or different involvement, like some of your favorite aspects of it, or
Sure. Here is my wheelhouse is with kids. I prefer working with children and I prefer theater. But
wonderful?
my
Okay,
career has always been more aligned with film.
okay. Well, so that seems to dovetail here nicely with the kinds of things you could potentially pursue, in a homeschool connections environment. So why don't you tell us a little bit about? Yeah, I know you have a couple courses coming up here at the time of this recording. We're looking at the summer, coming up pretty soon here. But if folks are watching later, certainly or want to sign up, for other courses beyond that, why don't you tell us what to expect?
Yes, I'm jumping off the diving board this summer with a stage makeup class where we're going to be discussing all different types of stage makeup. We have a couple of really fun projects aligned with that class, just kind of a sampling. And then I'm really excited about my course coming up in the fall and spring of next year, which is a theater arts course. And the fall semester will be dedicated to technical theater, things like set design, costume design, lighting,
Wow.
sound, all of these things. And then spring, we're going to be focusing on directing, acting, screenwriting, the more the performance end of
Right.
things.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, it's funny just to back up to the makeup one. What's funny is because there was some, initial notes or whatever when I was getting the information for the interviews for this year, and I thought I misread it at first because I was like, wait, is that something about makeup? I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I was like, but it was so cool. And I saw, a little bit of, but I didn't know a lot coming into this, but I did want to ask you, I mean, I think a lot of people obviously would probably overlook how important that can be, but have you, I'm sure you've probably seen the YouTube video with Steve Carell and Will Ferrell like jokingly performing. I think it was the Oscars or something with horrible on purpose, like horrible makeup, talking
Yeah,
about the stagecraft. And that's so. I just recommend that video to people because you can see firsthand how much of a difference it
it
can
makes
make
a
if it's
huge difference. And
not done right. So
I often tell students and still tell people that the characters that you know and love today, if they did not have makeup on, they would not transform into those characters visually.
wow. Is there anything in particular like so? Is that something that you personally have really kind of gotten to be involved with that at a young age even that really kind of made that important to you as far as something that is a maybe urgently important key feature in those
Sure.
performances?
So I always loved acting and being in front of an audience. What I did not love was memorizing lines. And I dealt with severe stage fright.
Oh wow.
And I learned in my second year of college that I had one of our classes, our core classes that we had to take was stage makeup. And I really loved it. I loved it a lot. And I went on to take as many courses in that as I could. And I was actually homeschooled myself. And I went
Hmm.
to the university and I asked if I could put together my own syllabus for really advanced makeup design and receive credit for it. So I did do that and I loved it more than performing.
Sure.
And I found that it was a God given talent that I had overlooked.
Yeah.
And but God opened a lot of doors for me, and I started working professionally in makeup my senior year of college, and then all the way through COVID.
Sure. It's so funny because like I said, it's for me it's all amateur, just anecdotal. I did a little acting in high school and stuff, and I just the basics of even doing video, at home and stuff. It's amazing how much of a difference it makes. But even something like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I understand that like the hairstyle of a character because I think Javier Bardem, I think in No Country for Old Men, I heard somewhere it was his idea to have that particular haircut, which for some reason makes his character so different.
Right?
And I think John Heater, right, the perm and Napoleon
Yes.
Dynamite,
Yep.
same thing. Like that
Yeah.
wasn't so like that's it's amazing how those little details can factor in. So you'll get into those little details, I assume, right? With
We'll get into all of
wow,
those little details of
that's
what
so
really
fun.
creates a character and how it visually connects to the script.
Wow, that sounds fun. So I definitely think that people want to check that out, and then just ask you maybe a little bit more about the other courses you mentioned. So remind me, the fall course, what was the title again for that?
This is going to be, it is theater arts, and this one is
Okay.
called Behind the Curtain, where we are talking about
Ah,
everything that happens, but that the audience might not see or that our students might not know goes into a theatrical production.
sure. Is there well, I'm sure you could tell lots of stories, but is there something particularly, in your own background on the stage maybe that really gave you that same kind of, interest and recognition in terms of those behind the curtains kind of thing?
Yeah, I really, in a course early on, dissecting a script and the idea of playing around with time periods, that kind of was an inspiration to me. These areas, I really feel like we always think of acting when we talk about the
Hmm.
theater. And I think a lot of people overlook all of the jobs that are
Sure.
involved in being in the theater, and just examining all the different avenues where you might have stage fright like me, or you might be nervous, and but the theater is still there for you, or you might be
Sure.
an actor and have no idea that you have a god-given talent for lighting design. So these
Right.
are kind of the areas, why I think it's so important to look at the whole theater as a whole rather than just individual parts.
Well, I've heard too that, some really kind of famous directors like John Favreau, I think, is really adamant about like, getting in front of the camera sometimes too, and like knowing all these different, aspects and of course, and that's more for film, but the setting, I think you're right. Like the setting, right, that, can sometimes be overlooked or can make such a difference when it's done right. So,
Right.
yeah, and then you said in the spring more of the screenwriting and performative aspects as well.
In the spring, we're switching gears and we're going to talk about, more the history of plays and the in front of the curtain. So this spring course, which is called Theater Arts Take a Bow, we are in front of the curtain for this class, talking about directing, what goes into directing, different styles of acting, how to use your voice to project, all these kinds of things,
Wow.
screenwriting, reading scripts and analyzing them.
Well, that sounds. I'm always tempted to sign up for these things myself, but I don't know if there's an age cutoff. But no, Tatiana, thank you again so much. Just
Thank
we're
you.
just doing these spotlight videos. They're really quick. It's deliberately on purpose meant to get people to go. Wait, I want to know more. Well, so how can they learn more? How can students find out more? How can parents get in
Sure.
touch with you? What do you
I
recommend?
believe you can search for more details about the courses. They are open in Caravel. You can get information there. Anyone can also email me at Amorella. It's T and then my last name, Amorella .hsc@gmail.com.
Very good. Well, Tatiana, thank you so much for stopping by here today and sharing about your Homeschool Connections courses. We wish you the best.
Sure. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, God bless.
God bless.